Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. I'd like to welcome you to the tutorial demo video that I'm doing for the Murach MySQL book, second edition. Um, and this is for Chapter 10. Chapter 10 is entitled How to Design a Database. And students in my class will be doing the companion exercises for Chapter 10, the ones that have to do with the My Guitar Shop database. And I'm going to be doing some demonstrations here to kind of help with that process. The first exercise that one has to do in the Guitar Shop exercises is to create an EER model from a script file that creates a database um, that came with the book. And I'm going to do a different script file just so we won't be doing the same thing. Okay. So I've brought up a copy of Workbench. And Workbench, up until now, we've been using the connections that we can make to the database server. And we're not going to do the connection part. We're going to do the models part here. And within the user interface for the models part, and I just want to warn you, your version could be slightly different. The user interface could be slightly different depending upon how old or new your copy of Workbench is. I'm pretty sure that you've got the same features, but perhaps your controls look slightly different, in which case you're going to have to do a little more investigation. Uh, but what we want to do when we want to create a diagram or create an EER model from a database creation script is we want to pick the third of these icons, the one with the little greater than symbol on it. And I've got two possibilities. Create an EER model from a database, in which case it's going to allow us to select one of the databases from that's on our server, which is not what we want right now, but that's a really useful use case. Or from a script, and this is a script that's going to be used to create a database. So I'm going to pick the second one. And I come into sort of a wizard dialog. And from here, I can go select the file that I want to use. And if I wanted to do the My Guitar Shop database, I would have used this one, but I don't want to do that. I want to, within the files that I got, I want to find DB setup. And there are three test databases. There's AP, EX, and OM. And the one we've used a lot is AP. So I'm going to just highlight AP and open that. Okay. And for this kind of use case, it's pretty helpful to just check the box that says place imported objects on a diagram, because that's what we want to do. We want to create a EERD diagram. So now I'm going to go down and click on the execute button, and then I'll click on next and finish, and I pretty much got what I want here. So let's look at what I have. The only thing you really have to think about here is once you create a model like this, the the workbench is very good at kind of reverse engineering it going from the script to the EER model and then drawing the diagram. But it always, these diagram drawing applications always have a hard time laying out the diagram. And you'll see that, you'll have tables that are over top of the relationship lines. And I find the easiest thing to do is just kind of pull them off. Okay, so here, it's looking pretty good. I'm thinking if we can move this invoice lines item up here, and let's try to get invoices. It's always good. Typically, the central object goes really well in the middle of the diagram. So we've done that. Now let's pull these over here. This is going pretty well. So we've got the central object in the middle of the diagram. We've got no crossing lines. And that looks pretty good. I think this does a good job. Okay? And so now I'm done. Right? All I wanted to do was to get an ER diagram from this. Now, I want to point out that this particular diagrammer keeps information on things like indexes for the tables. So if we look at invoices and we come down to the bottom and we open up this, we'll see that there is an index on the primary key. There are two foreign key indexes, so there are two foreign keys. One to vendors and one to terms. They each have their own index. And there's one on invoices invoice date just to make the make some of the queries that we have for the invoices table run faster, because invoice date is included in the criteria in the where clauses for a number of the selects that we're doing. Terms, let's see, let's take a look at that. It only has a primary key index. It's a very simple table. It doesn't have any foreign keys in it, so that there are no indexes for foreign keys. I'm going to close that. Let's go up and look at vendors. Okay. Okay, so we have a primary key index. That makes sense. We're always going to have a primary key index. And in MySQL, we always get an index created for any foreign key association that we set up within the product. This isn't true of all relational database products, but it's true of MySQL. And this is what allows the associations to be navigated in the other direction. What do I mean by this? Well, vendors has a relationship to terms through these default terms. Okay, and if you look down here, how do we get to terms? Well, we use this default terms primary key, and we use the primary index for terms. Now, how do you navigate the association in the other way? Well, we don't have something on terms. It points back to the vendors that use it, but we can look at this vendors foreign key terms index and navigate back the other way. So the reason that we create indexes for both the primary and the foreign keys is it allows two-way navigation of the relationships when we're doing our selects, without having to put a foreign key on both sides. We only have a foreign key on one side. Okay, so in the exercise that I'm having you do, I'm going to want you to save your diagram as a PDF. So how would you do that? Well, you would say, you go up to the menu and say File, Print to File. Okay, and we want to print this EER diagram. And I think this header and footer text are probably okay. They're not going to hurt us. And this is called Model PDF Desktop. It's going to put it on my desktop. Is that really where I want it? I don't know that I do. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to go and I'm going to look in my documents, and I'm going to put this over here in my courseware development one. So this is for course 410. I'm doing this. I have examples, and I'm going to call this um, ERR diagram for Murach AP database. And we save that. And save that. Okay, so let's close this diagram. We can close the modeler. Do we need to save it? In this particular case, I'm not going to save the model that we generated because we already have the script, and I don't want redundant data. Okay, so let's go out and find that. Let's go out and find that document, and I put that under courseware development and the 410 class and examples, and ERR diagram for Murach AP database. And here it is. Okay. So this is really handy. This is handy in a couple of ways. One, when you're using a database that you're unfamiliar with, I personally find it a lot easier to use it when I have an entity relationship diagram for it. Okay. The other thing that I find helpful is if it's my own database. Okay. I'll want to not generate it from a database script, but one of the options that we saw was to generate from an actual database. And so we would use that option to create a current entity relationship diagram for our database in its current state. And that might help us assess its state of completion and what might be missing and the health of its relationships and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so pretty cool stuff. Alrighty. So let's close those things and let's come back here. Now, the second question in the MyGuitar Shop exercises has us designing a database using the modeler. And I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to leave that for you to do. But what I am going to do is I'm going to do at least one from the exercises that are in the book. Okay, so if you go to the Murach book at the end of chapter 10, we have exercises 1, 2, and 3. And these are all have to do with database designs. So let us start out with number 1. So each product must have a product name, description, and price. So we've got one table, one entity product. Each product must belong to a category. So again, when you read through these things, you're looking for the parts of an entity relationship model, you're looking for entities, the attributes for the entities, they become the columns, and you're looking for the relationships. Each category must have a category name and a description. Each category can include multiple products. So there's a relationship. Okay, so let me take a look at that. So the way that I would do this, let me get my little, reading the book on my tablet. Very proud of that. Okay, so when I want to create a new model with the modeler, I come down here. I'm not up here in the connections. I'm down here with the models. And I don't have this model yet, so I want the plus. I'm going to add a model. Okay. And let's get working on this. Okay. So let's add a diagram. Double click. So here's an EER diagram. Now here are the symbols over here on the left. I must say that sometimes when I work with my version of this workbench on the Mac, sometimes it's hard for me to see my symbols. But here in my Windows virtual machine, I don't have that problem. And I'm hoping it's going to work okay for you. And up here, I have a new table. So it says each product must have a product name, description, and price. Okay, well, let's have a product. Okay, so I click on the table icon over here, and then I don't drag it. It loads up my cursor, and then when I click it out in the drawing area, it plunks down that table. So it gives it an automatic name, table 1, which is not what I want. So let's double click on that. And it opens up an editor panel in which I can change the table name. And each product must have. So I'm going to name these in the singular. So I'm going to call this one product. If I could type, would be good. Product. Okay, that's good. And it must have a product name, a description, and a price. Okay, does it need anything else? Well, typically we have identifiers. Okay, so let's just have a product ID. Sorry, we're going to start this. Now the diagram wants to call it ID product, but I don't really like that. I want to call mine product underscore ID. Okay. And what does it say? It says it's type int. That's great for an arbitrary numeric ID. It's a primary key. It can't be null. Perfect. Okay. Now, what are some of the columns that said we really needed? Product name, description, and price. Okay, so just click in the second row. And there are some people who will prefix every column with the same prefix. They'll have product ID, product name, product da 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 da. That's one style, okay? Or they'll shorten it. They'll use a prefix that's not the whole word, like prod ID, prod name, prod this. This was very popular when I was a lad, and probably less popular now. Okay, so if because I want to use the same name for the key field, the product ID, I want to use it for the primary key, and then I want to use it in any other table that has a relationship with this. I want to use it as a foreign key. I definitely want that one with the product prefix in front of ID, because ID by itself is not very helpful. But the name, the product name, this is only going to appear on one table. Okay, if it appeared on another table, this would be redundant data. This would be a non-normalized database design. So because it's only going to be here, and it's only going to be referred to within context of this product table. It only needs the column name. Okay? And it says it wants to make it a varchar 45. That's okay for me. It's not part of the primary key, but I don't want it to be null. Okay? I also don't want duplicates. I don't want two products with the exact same name. That's going to be a problem. So this next checkbox says add a unique constraint. So not null, unique. Looks good to me. And what's the next one? The instructions say we need a description and a price. Okay. Again, we don't need the prefix description. And the name of the table gives it its context. Varchar 45 characters is, I think, long enough for a product name, but not long enough for a description. Okay? Because we might use a product description, say, on our website. Okay? Well, how long could that be? I don't know. Let's make it a varchar 255. Okay? So that's as big as you can make a varchar a field. Let's say that we don't want it to be null. Okay? So if somebody is trying to add one, they if they don't know what it is, they're going to have to type in something. They're going to have to say product description to be added later. Does it have to be unique? Well, I don't think so. I'm not going to worry about that so much. The two things could have the same description. Well, okay. I think that's within the realm of the vagaries of product management. But the two things should have the same name. I think that's going to lead to dangerous confusion. So for description, I am going to check that I want a not null constraint, but not that I want a unique constraint. Okay? And we're going to have a price. So let's say price. Come down here. Price. Okay. Is it a varchar? No, it's not. It's going to be a decimal. We want a decimal because we want it to be a dollars and cents, and we want it to be a precise number of decimal places. Well, how big could the number be? Well, in a normal size decimal, I think we could say, let's say that it can be 9 digits long, 2 of which could be to the right of the decimal point. That can give us a very expensive price if we have something in 2 digits. Okay, that's good. How about that? 9, 2, paren, tab off of that. Okay, that's good. So, do we want, is it part of the primary key? No. Can it be null? I'm going to say no. If we're going to add a product, we ought to know what its price is. Okay. Does it need to be unique? No, we can have 2 products with the same price. I think that's fine. Okay, now this last generated column, it's not something we asked for. I'm going to hover over it. I'm going to press delete. That didn't work. I'm going to right click and say delete selected. That did work. All right. So this is good. We've got the product, and this is looking pretty good, like what we want. Okay. Let's save this. Okay. Now, something that happens over here is that our model is given the name that is right here. Okay. So when we started this up, it said the name of our database schema was MyDB. That's not what we want. So let's go over and right click on this, say edit schema. Okay, name MyDB. This isn't it. So I'm going to call this EX 1001. Okay, so that is that's actually the exercise I was working on. Okay. So at least it's going to have an identifiable name. If you don't go back and edit this, then all the schema models that you create, I mean all the ERRR models that you create are going to be called MyDB. You don't want that. Okay. So now let's say we want to save this. Okay. So I'm going to say File, Save Model As. And I'm going to put this into my my examples again in my courseware development. And examples, it's going here. And it asks me for a file name. And I'm going to call this EX 1001. I thought it was going to automatically use that schema name, but it didn't. But that's what it's called, EX 1001 schema. Okay, so that's in good shape. All right, now, what else do I want? I've got a product, and now I've got to get my tablet to light up again. Okay, so that's everything associated with product. Each product must belong to one category. Each category must have a category name and a description. Okay, so we need another table. Let's go over here, click on table. Okay, bring it out here. You can see it's loaded up. And let's have something called category. Come down here to the editor panel and change that. And what you see is that this is a database with products and categories, kind of like the MyGuitar database is. So it's not completely alien to us. So we have a category table. And what kind of columns is it going to have? Well, it's going to have a key. Okay, and I kind of like category ID. So not ID category. So category underscore ID, that's the style that we've been using. It's an int, primary key, not null. Okay, primary keys are unique by implication. Okay, so I guess we could click that. What I don't want to do is to create some extra processing. But what the heck, let's just click on unique. Okay, because it's the primary key. And then let's see, we said that we have a category name and a description. So we've got the same thing here. We don't need to call it category name. It's in the category table. Let's just call it name. Okay. Var 45. That's fine. It's not part of the primary key. We do want it to be not null. And I do want it to be unique. I don't want the ambiguity of these two categories being the same. All right. Okay. That's good. And then we need a description. So description, no need to prefix the name. This could be pretty big. So let's say that this one can be 255 long as well. And tab off of that. Okay, and can it be null? I'm going to say no. I don't want to add things that are null here. So click on the not null. Does it have to be unique? No, I think that's too much control. Okay, now I've accidentally gotten this generated column down here that I don't want. So I'm going to highlight it, right click and say delete selected. And I've got that. Okay. So now I need a relationship between the two. Okay, so let's look how that goes. We're going to say that each category can include multiple products. Okay, so that says to me there's a one-to-many relationship between categories and products. One on the category side, many on the product side. Now there's a lot of ways you can do this. Okay, so let's take a peek at how this can go. Okay, come on. Well, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to get the bottom of this thing over here. So let's close these things in the bottom here. I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting some space. So let's get some space along the bottom. There we go. And what I want to do is get rid of this so I can see all of the possibilities up here, but I'm not seeing it. So doesn't that just drive you absolutely crazy? Well, we're going to pause here till I find my controls. Shall return. Well, I found it. So to get this bottom part of the editor panel to get out of the way, you just have to close all the tabs in it. Okay, so now I can see all my relationship choices. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to create a relationship between product and category. Okay, now one of the really nice things about the diagrammer here is that it creates foreign keys for you. Okay, now I find that it'd be a little bit of a pain, but I've gotten used to it. What kind of relationship do we want? Well, we want a one-to-n, a one-to-many. Okay, we don't want that solid line that says it's an identifying relationship, and that's not what we want. So we want the one with the dash lines. Okay, so we've got a one-to-n here, and the many sides on product and the one side's on category. So I'm going to click on this to load it up. You see it's loaded up. And then I'm going to draw the one to the many side. Well, that's not working. Let's try it again. Well, okay. I'm going to delete that. Cut that. Oh, how I hate this. Delete. Yes, delete it. Okay, so this isn't one where you pull it across. This is the one where you click. So let's try again. So I want the one to n. And I think I click on the one side, then I click on the many side, and then it draws it. And guess what? It drew it backwards. I hate that. So, of course, I won't let that happen to you, right? So I'm going to highlight this. Okay, this is the one we're working on, and then I'm going to right click and say delete it. Yeah, delete it because it's drawn backwards. Okay, so it looks like I have to click on the many side and then on the one side. Okay, so load it up, click on the many side, click on the one side. Okay, that looks good. That looks real good. Okay. So, let's see, we've got, we have a new category ID here. Now, you may find that your diagrammer wants to call it category ID. And I think I changed this in the following way. I think I went up to Edit, Preferences, Modeling, Defaults, okay? And it has foreign key names. So this is a name that it uses for the constraints on foreign keys. And this is what you call the column. And yours probably says something like this. Yours probably says something like column underscore, or, yeah, I'm sorry, it probably says table underscore column. Or maybe table, sorry, table has percents around it. Okay? Well, get rid of the beginning. Okay? You just want, when it generates a foreign key, you just want the name of the column. Because that's the more conventional approach. So once you made this change in the configuration, then when you do what we just did, it will draw it the right way. So let's get rid of what we had. Okay, we'll say delete it. Okay, and look, it even took away the foreign key. All right, and now let's do one-to-many. Tap on the many side first, tap on the one side second, and very nicely, it's drawn the right relationship, one to many, and it has the category ID with the proper name, which is the foreign key that points at this. And one of the ways we know it's a foreign key is we have this little kind of salmon colored diamond in front of it. Now let's look at the indexes that we have. We have a primary key index on product. That's good. We have a name unique. That's a constraint. And we have the foreign key index here. We wanted that. Okay, and let's look at the indexes over here. Just the primary key. Now we have another one here. It says category ID unique. I'm still thinking that's a bad idea because category IDs are always, but primary keys are unique by implication. So I'm going to take that out of there just because. So how do I do that? Well, go over to category, double click on it, get the editor up, category ID. I'm just going to uncheck that unique because I think that's going to generate an extra constraint when we don't really need it. It's implicit in what it means to be a primary key. So primary key and then a unique constraint on the name. And that's all we need. Pretty cool. All right, so that's how we create the relationships and get the foreign keys here. Now, I'm kind of used to diagrammers that don't go plopping foreign keys into your table. This is kind of a fancy feature that once you get used to it, I think is a better feature than putting the foreign keys into them manually. But it did take me some getting used to. All right, and that is it. Okay, that is our deal there. So I'm going to save this again, File, and I'm going to save it. Okay. And what have I saved? I've saved that .mwb file. That's the model. And the model includes the EERD diagram. Okay, now the next job on the exercises is to save this um, EERD model as a schema. All right. Now, how can we do that? Well, we can say, first of all, we have to open up the .mwb file. Okay. Then we can go up to database. Okay. Um, Sorry. I went to export, reverse engineer. Oh, sorry. Database forward engineer. Okay. And it says, okay, I'm going to need a connection. All right. So use a connection. And let's look at what we have. See options for the database to be created. We don't want to skip creation of foreign keys. Generate separate creating index statements. I don't think so. Generate insert statements for tables. Okay. Disable foreign key checks for inserts. No, we don't want to do that. Don't create view placeholder tables. Okay. Drop objects before each create objects. Okay. Generate drop schema. Okay, because what we want to do is we want to make sure that we drop the schema before we create it. Include model attached scripts. This looks good. Okay. So we can export, we want the table objects. Do we want view objects? No, we don't. Do we want routine objects? There aren't any of those objects, so only these apply. Okay, so now we say next. And it shows, it says it's doing everything I want it to do, okay? Because it says it drops schema if exists. So, and I'm using that schema name that I forced it to use. Okay, so I'm dropping it if it already exists. Then I am creating it if it doesn't exist. And then I'm dropping each of the tables and creating the tables. That's just fine. Okay, and I want to save it to a file. And again, I'm just going to put mine into my samples, which is not where you're going to put yours, but I'm going to put mine into my samples, my examples, and it's going to go in here. Okay, and again, it looks like I get to name it ex 10 dot 02 SQL. Okay, very good. Now, how do you test this? Well, you next your way out of here. Okay, and now let's close this, and you should be able to go back, create a connection. Okay, you can. Let's see, we already have the database here. All right, but let's drop it. So let's drop that database, drop schema, drop it now. Okay, so now you don't have it, even if you refresh it. And now let's go and find that script that I had, this one right here, this one I just saved, and let's open it. And here's this script that creates the database, and now let's run it. And it ran okay. So let's refresh the list of schemas, and there's my schema. And there's my tables, category and product. So that did just what I wanted. All right. Okay, well, this is going to serve you pretty well when you get ready to do your own exercises. So I'm going to say goodbye until next time. Bye-bye.